Okay, it's ready.
Am I up first?
Yes, sir.
All right. What do I need to do first?
Are you presenting?
Yeah. I mean, I can, but I didn't know if you wanted to have anything to say or start the
I'm,
meeting. Or,
I'm gonna let you go first because you're the guest.
oh man, that's scary. All right. Let me get started here. Let's see if we can't do it the way we want to do it here. All right. Can you guys see that okay? You guys see my screen okay? A lot of Y's. Okay. That's good. That is good. Um, as you guys are aware, I guess I'm part of the family now since I've been around for a couple of weeks. Um, I'm Rick Barlow. I'm with Texas Political Subdivisions. We have uh, the vehicle coverage as well as the property coverages for Bryan Independent School District. I'm a loss control representative. What that is somebody that tries to help the different, we call them members, not policyholders, try to help them improve their safety programs, their risk management programs by offering our consultation assistance and doing other things to help districts, reduce their capacity for injuries, save money, all of those good things. Now, you guys, I need you to be kind to me because if I tell you a story, to kind of get you in the mood, it's Monday morning. We all need something good to happen on Monday morning, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, and I don't call them jokes because they're my stories. Um, but here's how it goes. This preacher went to this elderly lady's house to counsel her. And while sitting on her couch, he noticed a bowl of nuts. And he looks down, he sees the nuts, and he says, "May I?" And she responded, "Yeah, go right ahead. Help yourself." So after about 3 hours of this counseling session, the preacher was, I guess, finished with all he was going to talk about. So he gets up to leave. He looked down at the table and noticed the bowl of nuts was empty. Embarrassed, he apologized. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Without even thinking about it, it looks like I ate all of the nuts. The elderly lady replied, "No problem. Since I lost my teeth, it's all I can do to suck the chocolate off of them." All right. That was my attempt at humor this morning. All right. What we're going to talk about today is defensive driving. And we're going to talk about it a little bit differently than what the way you may have talked about it. We'll talk a little bit about probably what you've seen. We'll talk about defensive driving skills and some of the other things. But what I wanted to point out is a couple of things. In the US, there are approximately, I guess you could say, 25 million bus riders. In Texas, I think it's the last statistic I saw was about 1.5 million school bus riders every day. Yep. School bus drivers, for the most part, are the safest drivers around. Let me put that out there and say it twice. But a large part of the problem stems from when there is an accident. Unless it's clearly a situation where the driver's not at fault. I say this all the time. When a bus driver makes the news, it's not usually good news. And if it is good news, the story is usually a lot shorter than it is than if it's bad news. So we kind of live on the edge of bad news all the time in the US because that people like sensationalism, they like that kind of stuff. So that said, I'm going to let you hear my emphasis on a couple of things here. I'm going to do this a little differently. It's not clicking over like it should. All right, let's try this again. There we go. 7:10 a.m., a commuter train struck a stopped school bus at a railroad crossing. 7 children
children were killed. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, the probable cause of the accident was the bus driver's failure to notice the visual and audible warnings of the approaching train. At 3:28 p.m., a semi-tractor trailer struck a school bus. 8 children were ejected from the vehicle. 4 of the children died. The other 4 sustained minor to serious injuries. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, the probable cause of the accident was the school bus driver's inattention due to disobedient children. At 10:30 a.m., a school bus was struck by a construction company cement truck. 7 children sustained serious injuries. According to the National Transportation Safety Board, the probable cause of the accident was the school bus driver's failure to stop at a stop sign.
It only takes a split second to go from this to that. One split second of not paying attention, one moment when you get distracted, a child is killed or injured for life. Each one of these accidents might have been prevented if the driver was driving defensively.
All right. Now notice all of that, it kind of focused on the driver and what the driver may or may not have done. I give you that's not normally the case. Like I said, school bus drivers are some of the best drivers. You're 10 times more likely to get to school safely on a school bus than any, or 70 times actually more likely to get to school safely on a school bus than any other mode of transportation. 10 times more likely than in a car. So I've just point that out to say that I've seen situations where the driver had nothing to do with it. Recently in Houston, you guys may have heard about this. A 17-year-old guy stole a car and was fleeing the police and ran into a school bus, injuring luckily there were no children on it. He injured the driver and the attendant on the bus pretty seriously. And I think the driver is still out, and that happened almost a year ago. So when you look at that, you had to be pretty Nostradamus-like to be able to look into the future to see how you could have avoided that kind of situation where this guy runs this red light trying to get away from the police and hits your bus as you're going through a traffic light. So I say that to say this, that didn't get a whole lot of play except to say that it happened and people were injured. And I think what happens with news stories for the most part is the stories that garner the most negative, that usually get the most viewership. And so those are the ones that are typically, I guess, seen in, over and over again. And like I said, when one of you have an accident, all of you have an accident. That's just kind of the nature of the beast, I guess. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is defensive driving, what it is, what the defensive driving skills are, a little bit of vehicle accident data. And then we got to switch gears a little bit and talk about the 3 A's of defensive driving, which is more, I'd like to say, more of the mental side of defensive driving, because in my estimation, you guys are all good drivers. It takes a little bit to get your CDL and the passenger endorsement and all that other stuff that says you can potentially drive, precious cargo around every day. But that's what I want to focus on, that mental aspect of it. I want to also focus on how that impacts incident-free driving, and we'll do what we always do, and that's talk about a few accident prevention tips. So what is defensive driving? I know you hear it all the time. We're not doing anything like where you go and get the tickets dismissed and that kind of thing. That's a different course altogether. But what this is just really more of the concept of defensive driving and what it is and how it can help you avoid an accident. But the National Safety Council says driving to save lives, time, and money in spite of the conditions around you and the actions of others. What that basically says is, no matter what happens, you have to be the one in control of how you drive and what you do to avoid accident, even when people around you aren't doing what they're supposed to do. The dictionary basically says the practice of using driving strategies that minimize risk and help avoid accidents, as by predicting hazards on the roads. In other words, you're looking at situations and sizing it up and formulating your driving strategy on accident avoidance. My definition's a little short and to the point. It's defensive driving, set of road skills, techniques, and strategies that assist in defending against possible collisions. Now, I say this to say that sharing the road with other drivers can be difficult. A defensive driver has to be aware and prepared to safely handle bad, drunk drivers, poor weather and road conditions, all kinds of other stuff that contribute to accidents and injuries. So that's what makes a defensive driver probably better than the average driver. If you drive defensively, you are actually driving, I guess, offensively in the sense that you are trying to avoid having a collision that could produce an injury or damage to a vehicle. Some of the general principles of defensive driving: controlling your speed, looking ahead and expecting the unexpected, being alert and distracting free when you're in traffic, preparedness for all sorts of actions and reactions of other drivers. You know, you're not letting them drive your car, basically. Not expecting other drivers to do what you'd ordinarily do. You know you're a good driver, but you can't expect everybody to be that same good driver. Watching out and respecting other drivers. Regarding your vehicle is maintaining a safe following distance, like what we talked about a week ago Thursday. Driving safely, considering and adjusting for the weather, traffic, the vehicle, road conditions, all kinds of things. Adjusting your speed before entering a hill or a bend to avoid having to apply the brakes in the middle of that transaction. Like I said, vehicle accidents happen. You know, school buses are one of the safest modes of transportation, like I've said. But I throw out these statistics because it's something to kind of hang your hat on. If you think about over the last 11 years, there were 411,542 fatal traffic accidents between 2008 and 2018, which is the latest set of numbers. This year's numbers that go through 2019 haven't come out yet. 1,357 of those were school transportation related, accounting for 123 fatalities a year on average, and approximately 229 school-aged children involved in those accidents. 58 of the fatalities were to bus drivers, 80 were to bus passengers. 207 of the fatalities involved pedestrians, where they may have been struck by the vehicles or other vehicles involved in those accidents. And unlike what they talk about with this COVID doesn't affect kids, 48% of those involve kids between the ages of 5 and 10. And it has been, the latest statistics I've seen say approximately 53% of all K to 12 students ride the school buses. And I showed you this statistic before, or this set of statistics before. This is BISD over the last almost 4 years. You can see there were about 68 not at fault collisions. You can see there are 5 in the at fault. That's why I said 68 instead of the 73. And the amount of money involved in those collisions from an insurance standpoint, just strictly the insurance, this has nothing to do with your district. It's close to $600,000 or about $150,000 a year. Now that's a lot of money when you look at it in the instance of how it affects a district, because there are uninsured costs that are far exceed what those insurable costs are. You know, the parts that aren't insured usually account for anywhere from 1 to 4 to some estimates say 10 times what that amount is that is paid by the insurance. So all of that is kind of out there. So let's do a quick review. All right, need your help here. Defensive driving means to drive in a manner that protects you, your vehicle, passengers, and other road users despite the conditions around you and the actions of others. True or false? That was a layup, right? Easy question. That's true. Which of the following is not a principle of defensive driving? Come on, guys, click in on me. That's correct. As soon as students exit your bus, they are no longer the driver's responsibility. True or false? Man, you guys are just too sharp for me. That is false. Man, you have to watch them until you can't see them anymore, because you never know what's going to happen sometimes after they get off the bus. You know, what may happen in terms of, I forgot something, and turn around and come back into the lane of traffic or walk behind the bus. All of those things happen all the time, despite anything you might do or tell, you know, whoever's on your bus. Driving defensively means not expecting other drivers to do what you would ordinarily do. That's true, because driving defensively means doing what you know is right without expecting other drivers to do what is right while they're on the road with you. So you're protecting yourself against them. All right, now I told you I wanted to focus a little bit on the mental aspect of defensive driving, and that's where this all comes in. What I want to discuss is what I like to call the 3 A's of defensive driving. And what that is your attitude, how you drive, what you do when you're behind the wheel, how aware you are of situations and how you maneuver and handle them, and what action you take when you have to avoid a collision.
School bus drivers are a special breed. You maneuver a 25,000-pound vehicle in all kinds of weather, all sorts of road conditions, and keep control of dozens of kids with your back turned. But joking aside, it's a big responsibility. And while you're some of the best drivers on the road,
I'm seeing that you guys can't hear this. Is that right?
for instance, how to control your attitude, your awareness, and your actions, the 3 A's of defensive driving.
Let me see if I can go back. None of you can hear this?
No, sir. Like I can't hear it on my end either. But if you all can turn on your captions, but I can't hear it either, Mr. Rick.
Okay, let me see what I can do here. Hold on. Let's see if we can at least change this in some way. I turned the volume up full tilt, so I'm not sure
Richard
what's
can't
happening.
hear anything.
Not a thing? Whoa, that is not good. You can see we're up to 100 there. Give me just a second here. Let's try that. Is that better?
Still nothing.
Still nothing. Nobody, huh? Wow. Not sure what to do with that. I've got it up full volume. That is frustrating there. I'm not sure. Let me think for a second if there's a way I can pipe this another way. Mr. Gates, if you want to talk for a second, I'll see if I can't pipe this another way. Can you hear me, Mr. Gates?
Yes, sir. We're gonna wait. We'll wait on you. Do y'all have any questions so far?
I'm trying to think of what I can do here to boost the sound. I guess I could do here. But that's on. I don't know of a way to boost this sound here. Wow. Any suggestions? I've got it up full.
Can you go into your settings and check your volume in your settings, Mr. Rick?
Yeah, I think I could. Let me stop sharing here. Let me go here. Give me just a second here. Let's see if we can work.
Mr. Rick, it's showing you have mute on your computer on my end.
Oh, you know, that's quite possible. Let me see. That's the simplest thing, isn't it? Hold on.
So it's the presenting screen that's been muted. So we're only getting the volume through your computer, which is why it's so low.
I'm not showing mute.
No, not
I'm
on
showing.
you. Whenever you're presenting, the presenting screen is muted. So it's only showing the volume through your screen because you will have two when you present.
Well, let's try this another way then. Give me just a second here. I think I will switch it back to the other screen if I can here. All right, let's see if this works here. Give me just a second. No, it's still not. It's not moving it back to the right screen here. Come on now. Don't play with me.
When you start presenting, Mr. Rick, if you look in the right hand corner, you'll see your name twice. So if you unmute the second one that says presentation, once you start playing the video, they should be able to hear the video.
Let's say that again.
Okay, now that you're presenting, look on the right hand side of your screen where it says chat, but you click on the people, and then you scroll down to your name, and you have two bars with your name on them. You're gonna click on the second one that says Rick Barlow. Click on unmute presentation, and then they should be able to hear your presentation.
Let me find my name. Is it close to the top or the bottom?
It's in my screen. It's in alphabetical order. It might be at the top because you're hosting and presenting.
I'm looking. I don't see my name in here. I'm kind of going fast here through it.
Like on my screen, my name is at the top. So if it's not at the top, look in alphabetical order, and you should see Rick Barlow.
Mine are not showing in alphabetical order. Hold on. We're going to get this right. I see your name twice, but I do not see my name at all. Baker, Jimenez.
So click on people, Mr. Rick. And when you click on people, stroll all the way to the top and you should see your name. It should say Rick Barlow up top. When you click on people, just stroll to the top.
Done. It's not unmuting though. All right, let's try this again back over here. All right. It is not unmuting. Don't know why, but it's not. I see what you mean, but I don't see where it's allowing me to unmute this. Oh, guys, we may have to do without it. I don't see, it's not letting me unmute it. It's not giving me that option.
Can you mute yourself on the first one and then try to unmute the presentation, Mr. Rick? See if you can do that. All right.
Nope. I don't have control of that. It doesn't look like.
Hold on. Let me see something on my end. It's not letting me unmute you. But we can like move on, Mr. Rick, and then once if you can get it to work and send it to me, and I can almost always drop it on the YouTube channel for them to look at, or I can send it to them in the email. Like once we get it going. If that's what you want to do, Mr. Rick.
Mr. Barlow, you're muted.
You're muted, Mr. Barlow. Turn your mic on.
He left out. He'll come back in.
All right, can you guys hear me again? All right.
Yes, sir.
Whew. That was making me crazy. All right. So we're going to eliminate the videos. If you guys want to see what's in there, it's about, I'd say 7 to 8 minutes of good information on the video, but you might have to go back and look at it. We can't seem to make that part of this work correctly. I'm going to look one more time. I don't. I don't see where I can make this happen the way I want to make it happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip that part. Kind of back to what we were talking about. I said what I wanted to focus on a little bit is the mental side of defensive driving, the attitude, awareness, and action part of it that we talked about. And since we're not going to be able to see that, and it doesn't seem like it wants me to skip it, so let's talk about the first part of that, attitude. Attitude is kind of your first defense. Attitude and poor driver performance are often connected. Attitude usually affects how you drive, your reaction time, how students behave, your alertness. If you have a whole lot of things happening at home, sometimes you're not focused on driving. You know, maybe you get to work and you're thinking about something that happened the day before or earlier that morning with you on the road, and you put yourself in situations where your attention is not 100% on driving, and that's what you need when you are driving a school bus to make sure that you drive safely. So what happens is if you've got a whole lot of other baggage that you're carrying in terms of other things on your mind, maybe you miss an important clue in the driving environment that would help you prevent an accident. I don't know if I put that in here. I think I did. Well, let me just say this. It has been stated that you make about 400 observations. This is just observations, things you see, for about every 2 miles you drive when you're out on the road. That's a lot of things. You know, you see a sign, you see a road sign, and you make approximately 20 to 30 decisions based on those observations. It's been stated that about 1 in 40 of those observations is not, or decisions that you make based on those observations is not the right one. Doesn't always contribute to an accident, don't always contribute to anything, but it could. So I'm saying that to say this. There are a lot of things that happen in your driving environment, and if you're not focused on just driving, a lot of times what happens is you don't have your focus where it should be. If only 70% of your resources are devoted to driving, the chances are that something that you're missing in the observation part of your driving may be an important clue to prevent an accident. So that's the whole point I want to say with that. So what you want to do is you want to stay positive in terms of your attitude. You want to adjust your attitude before you start your work day. You want to leave all the personal baggage at home, the arguments you had with your spouse, the kids doing something that set you off, the neighbor doing something that set you off, Mr. Gates doing something that set you off, in the morning. You want to make sure that you put all that behind you by the time you get to your bus to drive. I mean, throw you under the bus, Mr. Gates. If you're running late, relax and get there safely. What happens a lot of times if you're running late, you tend to try to speed up to get there on time. And I think that what the video says is, yeah, you may get there a few minutes quicker than you might have ordinarily, but the whole object of the game is to get there safely. You want to stay in control of your vehicle and the passengers within your vehicle. You want to not drive aggressively, since this is often a contributor to road rage situations. You want to act rather than react. And the reason I say you want to act rather than react, when you react, somebody else is driving, not you. Somebody in the other vehicle, if they've set you off, they're controlling you more than you'd like to admit. And I know you're not going to be able to hear that, so we're going to skip through it. The second part of this is the awareness part. And this is where I said what I said a second ago. You'll make about 300 to 400 observations every 2 miles, and make a mistake about every 40 decisions you make based on those observations. And after you've been on a route for a while, it's natural to feel like you understand traffic flow and you know where you're going. So you tend to be more relaxed and maybe take a few more chances than somebody that doesn't know the route or doesn't know the city as well. Don't allow yourself to get too comfortable. Remember, you have to stay alert. If you didn't get enough sleep the night before, that may impede how you drive. You want to be ready for situations for change without notice, since you don't usually have time to think about what to do next in an accident situation. If you're a substitute or a new driver, you might want to ask somebody that's been on the route before, some of the the things that you might have to deal with, maybe where some construction is going on and not going on, where some safety issues may be, to get a better understanding of where you're going to drive. You may want to look at a map to make sure you fully understand the route, so you're not in trouble. And like anything else that you choose to do, if you want to be good at it, you have to practice what you do. You really do. All right, and the awareness part, like I said, you need to know your route. You want to check route conditions when you get to work. You know, traffic conditions. Look at the traffic. You know, they kind of tell you what traffic situations are on television when you're driving in the morning. You want to watch that. Want to make sure you inspect your vehicle like you're supposed to, and don't forget to inspect your emergency equipment, your triangles, your fire extinguisher, your first aid kit, your bloodborne pathogens exposure control kit. You want to make sure you check all those things before you hit the road in the morning. And you want to make sure that you watch the loading and unloading of children when they're getting on and off your boats very, very carefully, because like I said, you never know what kids are going to do in any given situation. You want to never take your eyes off of kids when they're loading. You want to count children as they exit to make sure that they're all safe distance from the bus before you pull away. If you can't locate a child, you want to check your mirrors. And if you still can't find them, you might want to secure your bus and get out and look and see if you can find out where that kid went, because he may be in the wrong place, or he or she. And the third part of this, now we talked about the 3 A's, like I said. Action is the third leg of that, where you're making sure that you act rather than reacting. Action equals control. Like I said, defensive drivers act, they don't react. When you act, you're in control of what you do. When you react, you're responding impulsively to somebody else's behavior. They're basically driving your bus if they're making you mad or making you do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do. Road rage creates situations that lead to accidents and personal injuries. And aggressive drivers are more prone to road rage than are people that are calm and keep themselves under control. Unfortunately, we're going to have to skip it. Like I said, some of the things that you do that you can't control, you want to make sure that you wear your seatbelt. If you remember the last presentation that I showed you what happens to a bus driver that wasn't wearing a seatbelt. You want to mind your speed. You want to travel maximum the speed limit, but really you want to travel at a speed that's conducive to the road conditions, traffic, the weather, all of those things, to make sure that you drive correctly. You want to obey all traffic signals. You want to watch and make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. You want to keep a safe distance from the vehicle in front of you. And for the most part, keep that space cushion such that you're not impacted by the vehicles in front of you or behind you or next to you. You want to watch your blind spots. That means really, really watching your mirrors diligently and making sure you check periodically to make sure you have no blind spots. And you want to take special precautions when your visibility is reduced at night, bad weather, or any other situation, fog, that may contribute to reduced visibility when you're driving. And I always say, boy, I wish I could show you this part of this. I hope you guys will go back and look at some of the recorded portion of this. Now, Mr. Gates, I don't know if it'll show those, I guess, the video inserts like that when you go back and show it, but if I'm not playing them. So I'm not sure if I'm doing any favors here by not playing them. What would you like that I do? He must be tuned out for a second. All right. I want to talk about road rage. You want to steer clear of road rage. You can't control another person's attitude, only your own. Never take another driver's behavior personally, because that could get you into trouble. You want to avoid eye contact with somebody who's acting a little crazy. You want to stay within the speed limit. You want to keep a safe distance from other vehicles. You want to use your horn sparingly. You honking your horn at somebody may be taken in a way that you didn't intend for it to be taken. You may be just honking to get them to move, but that may not be the way they say it. Give you a situation that happened to me a few years ago. I was driving in a caravan of vehicles with a bunch of people. It was maybe 6 or 7 vehicles. And I was the lead vehicle, and we came to a light right at the freeway. So I changed my mind in terms of which direction we were going to go. So I let all of the vehicles that were traveling with me go in front of me, so they could turn right. And when you know it, the guy behind me did not like that at all. He gets out of his vehicle with his hand down to his side. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, this does not look good. I see him walking up toward me in my side view mirror, and I gun it. I get on the freeway, and he gets back in his car, and he actually chases me for about 3 or 4 miles on the freeway. I'm doing probably 100 flying around the freeway. I was in a sports car, so I was probably moving in and out of traffic, and I'm thinking, this is at night, and I'm thinking, where are the police when you need them? Not a single police I see throughout this entire journey. And I come up on an exit, and I'm in the far left-hand lane, and I kind of survey the traffic, and I just swoop over to the right and get off the freeway at the exit. And he couldn't get off in time, so he kept straight. Don't know what would have happened if that guy had caught up with me, but that could have been a bad situation. And it was born out of something that was pretty innocent in terms of making sure the guys I was with went the same way I was going to go. So I'm saying sometimes what you think is meaningless doesn't mean anything, may not be taken that way. And if you've watched the news lately, you know, you hear people getting out of vehicles and crashing windows and shooting at people because they didn't like their reaction in a traffic situation. So use your horn sparingly. All right, that's pretty close to the end of my presentation. I really apologize, guys, for not being able to show this the way I wanted to. And Mr. Gates, can you hear me? He's not hearing me. What I'm going to do when we hang up here, I might redo the presentation for just him so he can record the entire presentation to include the videos. So if you'd like to go back and look at it, some of the video portions of it are kind of interested in terms of that they're engaging, if nothing else. All right, let's do a quick review here since we can't do what we normally do. Which of these is not one of the 3 A's of defensive driving? No answers? You guys are usually pretty quick on this stuff.
We don't see a picture, at least I don't.
You don't see it?
Actitud, awareness,
No, sir,
and
I don't.
action.
You're not seeing the screen?
No, sir.
You guys have not been, you've been watching me the whole time and not the screen? Holy moly.
We've been watching other people in the deal and listen to you.
But you haven't been
Not
seeing
a
the
video.
screen, the PowerPoint?
Not a video. No.
Oh, not the
I'm
video. I
sorry.
meant the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint.
No.
I don't think you never hit present now, Mr. Rick. Did you ever hit present now?
Oh my
I
God.
thought you was talking. I didn't know you was presenting a PowerPoint.
Oh my gosh. Hold on here.
So like,
Hey, here's what I'd like to do. After the presentation is over,
all right,
I'll go back and play the whole thing for you, including the videos if
all
you
right.
want to re-show the presentation so you can record the whole thing, because it doesn't sound like you may have even gotten what I was intending for you to get in terms of out of this. So let me see if I can do this.
Do you want to forward me the PowerPoint and I can forward it to them, or drop it on the YouTube channel, or what do you? How do you feel about it?
It's too big to that is a big file. If you want, I can set this up where you can record it. If it's just me and you send me an invite and I'll redo it where you can record it and show it. Man, I apologize for this. I hate that this is not going like I like for it to go.
That's fine, Mr.
Don't know why I don't have control. All right. So you're telling me you guys have not been watching this at all, huh?
No, you never.
No, sir,
I
just
thought you
you.
was talking, but you didn't hit present now.
All right. How about this? Can you see it now?
No, you're not presenting. You need to present, Mr. Rick. Now we can see
I am
it.
presenting. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Which of these is not one of the 3 A's of defensive driving?
D.
No wonder you guys weren't answering me.
D.
That's correct. When you're frustrated, short-tempered, and distracted, you may fail to notice traffic signs. True or false?
True.
All right. Your vehicle's blind spots on either side of the front of the bus. Think about it, of the front of the bus. That is false. Your blind spots are on either side of the rear edges of the bus. Use your horn sparingly because it could be misinterpreted by another driver as an aggressive act.
True.
That is true. 2 more. Before hitting the road, make sure your turn signals, headlights, and brakes and your emergency equipment are working properly, and adjust your mirrors.
True.
That is true. Use your horn sparingly because it could be misinterpreted by another driver as an aggressive act.
Just answer that, but it's true.
That is true. Boy, this kind of bugs me, but let's just make sure we do just kind of a little bit of a summary here. Let's make sure, as far as defensive driving and safety in your summary, you want to plan ahead for unexpected situations. Your speed should be determined by conditions, not the speed limit, by the road conditions, by the vehicle conditions, by your physical condition, actually. Adjust your mirrors before you start your route. You want to check your mirrors frequently while driving. You want to be ready to react to other drivers. For example, the car ahead of you slams on your brake. You don't want to be too close to that vehicle because of what could happen. Be ready to react to other drivers. Like I said, don't expect other drivers to do what you think they ought to do. Be respectful of other road users. Avoid aggressive driving, and that means cutting people off and making obscene gestures. Not a good idea. You want to understand how to drive safely in various weather and road conditions, and you want to stay focused and alert. And don't let students distract you or use your cell phone while driving. You definitely want to steer clear of the road rage situations, like I said, as much as possible, because we live in a crazy world in terms of how people view things. And one of the things that I like to point out, just like anything else, whether it's sports or spelling bee, in order to be good at it, you have to practice. And the same is true of driving. If you don't practice good driving skills, safe driving skills all the time, and that's whether you're in your car or driving a bus, chances are you're not going to do as well as if you would. And I like throwing this out there to those of you that have children. Your kids are watching you. The kids on the bus are watching you. And the old adage of do as I say, not as I do, does not work when it comes to driving, because I've just kind of personally witnessed this. If you're somebody that doesn't wear your seatbelts or doesn't drive safely, when you're in the car with your kids, they're probably going to drive safely. When you're not with them, they're probably different people altogether, and that's just kind of the way life is. So all I can say is practice what you preach. Make sure you do the things that you need to do to be a defensive driver, because that will help you avoid having an accident and possibly getting hurt or worse in a situation involving you and other vehicles. And that's all I have. Man, I'd like to apologize to you guys again. I wish I knew what happened in terms of how this worked, but there's got to be a way around it and to figure it out, because I don't like shortchanging you guys, and I feel like I did shortchange you in terms of some of the information that I had intended to present for you. That's all I have, Mr. Yates.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. I appreciate you.
If you have a minute after we're done with the presentation, give me a call back and let's figure out how to get this. If you got a Dropbox,
Okay, I will.
There may be a way to do it that way.
Okay, I will.
Okay, because I would like for to be able to include the video parts of the presentation in there.
All right. They're saying thank you in the comments also.
All right. Thanks, guys. Again, we're going to get this right. This COVID business is driving me crazy. I would much rather be standing in front of you than not. Then my jokes are even funnier when I can see you laughing, right? Oh, excuse me, stories. But I like I said, once again, I apologize for what we didn't get. And I do not underestimate anybody. Trust me. I trust you guys. I think you guys are great drivers. Your record kind of proves it. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. We have a few updates that we're doing in the. Can you hear me? We have a few updates that Charity is going to bring the new field trip updates, and Amanda's going to bring some payroll updates. Are you there, Amanda? Charity, are you there? Becky?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, well, I guess you can go first, Charity, because Amanda didn't answer.
Okay. Can everybody see me? Everybody hear me? Let's hope so. Let's see here. Okay, y'all, I don't have a lot of information for trips, but I'm going to share whatever it is that I have for y'all right now. Hopefully y'all can see my screen. Basically, I sent out a form a while back saying if you're interested in trips, please fill it out by Friday, August 14th. I had a lot of people respond, so thank y'all for that. The requirements are still the same. You have to be transit trained, so if you replied that you were not trained yet, you were removed from the list, you'll need to get with Joey Williams to make sure that you are transit trained. You'll have to be in good standing with the Incident Review Committee. That's the only time I get notified that I need to take people off for any length of time is if you had an incident and they have you going through some remedial training or something like that. Special trips should not interfere with your regular or shuttle routes. If they do, you'll need to make sure you put in an absence form as soon as you accept the trip so that Mr. McDaniel knows to replace you and have a sub driver for that day. Absence and no-shows. You must be present on the scheduled day before your trip to remain eligible for the trip the following business day. If you are absent, please notify me as well. That way I can get your trip covered. That means if we go on Christmas vacation, you have to be here the day before Christmas vacation so that you're eligible for the next trip that comes up. No-show offense, first offense, you're suspended from all special trips for 30 days. The purpose of that is to make sure that we get our trips off on time. A lot of the trips, they are required to arrive by a certain time, especially for games or wrestling. You know, they have to check in at a specific time. So we are asking that everybody is punctual. Second offense, you can be removed from special trips and ineligible for the remainder of the semester, 90 days, whichever is greater. If you drop, this means you accept a trip and something comes up. The first time you do that, there's no repercussions. Things happen. Second offense, you'll be suspended from all special trips for 30 days. Basically, this is just making sure you can maintain your calendar and keep up with everything that we ask you to. There are 5 trip rotation lists. We divided it out to ADA trips. So if they are requesting an ADA special needs bus, that will be one list. Weekday trips are Monday through Friday during the day. Weeknight, Monday through Friday, ending at nighttime. So a lot of the Camp Allen trips are going to be considered night trips because you will be going back in the evening to pick those students up. Weekend trips are Saturday and Sundays. I'm not divvying that up as to whether or not you work on a Saturday or Sunday. Thank you. It's going to just be whatever happens, your trip options fall on for that day is what you'll get offered. That way we can keep that rotation going. We did do a few overnight trips last year. I'm not sure if we're going to have anything this year due to COVID, but I did that list just in case. So we'll kind of look at those a little bit later. Campus bus loading zone maps. I know a lot of y'all are new, and then some of y'all only go to certain campuses, so you're not familiar with all the other campuses. So what I did was create a map for every campus, including CTEC. So you can find out where the front office is. You can find out where the regular bus loading zones are, ADA loading zones are, if they do athletics, fine arts, anything different than the regular bus loading zone, you'll be able to identify those before you go there so that you're in the right location. I also put down popular crossroads that are close to that campus. That way you kind of have some idea of where you're going and any nearby businesses. And I kind of went with whatever I knew for the most part, but hopefully that'll help us out. Trip calendar, everybody will have access to this as well. Any trips that we have going out will be populated on here. Anything in red is going to be what we can assign to our drivers. The rest will be to coaches or campus drivers, but you'll have an idea of what we're looking at. Obviously not a lot of trips yet, but I'm hoping we'll see an increase in that. Let's see here. Trip list. So this is everybody who said that they wanted to be on the trips, and what I did is I went through and said whether y'all wanted to be on which list. From here, we did a random organization for each list, and this is how everybody's going to be on the list for each of those lists in that order. So as soon as I get these lists transferred over to the trip list, then you'll be able to see those as well, and we'll go from there. Does anybody have any questions? I know I don't have everything figured out yet. It's kind of going to be play it by ear until we see what really happens with trips and how much we're going to be doing. And if y'all do have questions, shoot me an email. I'm stuck out here in the hole next to the mechanic shop bay 1, so I'm available out here. New drivers, yes, you can sign up. The trip list request will be on that form that I'll be sending out, so you can just sign up as that. And I'll add y'all onto the end of the list. So anybody who signs up after this point here will go at the very bottom of the rotation, wherever that rotation is at that time that they request it. But it will be available through Google Docs so everybody can see where we are in the lineup and where we are on the trips. Again, not a lot of trips going out quite yet, so the rotation might be a little slow. And again, if y'all have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank y'all. All right, Simeon.
Thank you, Chair. If you all have any questions, you can send Chair the email. I think that's the best way we need to communicate now. Quite sure she'll respond back with you with your answers. Next, we have Amanda with all the payroll updates.
Good morning. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So we are going to continue on with the alphabet like we did last year. So I will have, if your last name is A through J, you will see me for questions about your time, payroll, anything like that, any issues you have. And LaShawn will see if your last name starts K through Z. Now, of course, if one of us, for some reason, is not in the office, is not here, you know, then we may contact that other person's drivers or aides or whoever if we have questions. We have boxes in the hallway right outside my door, and they're labeled with our names. So all exception forms will be put in there. We do not come straight to our office. Put things, correspondence in our boxes or email us. Check stubs. If you get a paper check stub, or if for some reason you need a paper check, the checks will be mailed to you as well as the check stubs, unless you're already receiving check stubs via email. If you still want a paper stub, some of you requested having paper stubs and y'all would come see me to pick those up. This year, if you want a paper stub, you need to send an email to Stacy in payroll. All of you should have a green sheet in your packet with all of this information as well as Stacy's contact information. So you would send her an email stating you want a paper stub, and then you will go to to payroll on Ennis Street to pick that up. You will not pick that up for me or LaShun this year. Timesheets, again, refer to the green form or the green sheet that's in your packet that will outline all of your instructions. If at all possible, we ask that you check your time every day or two on the time clock. And again, instructions are in your packet. We will not be printing timesheets out in bulk this year. If you need a paper timesheet for some reason, then you may request that from either LaShun or myself via email. We have to have that in an email request, and we have a 24-hour turnaround period for all requests. So sometimes you will need 3 or 4 paycheck stubs for some kind of issue that you're having. Again, stuff like that needs to be sent to us via email, and there's a 24-hour turnaround period for us to get that back. We will try to get that back to you earlier if possible, but the minimum we ask is, expect it in 24 hours. Let's see. Other than that, there's not going to be a snack cabinet this year. We're, trying to cut down on traffic in and out of the offices and the hallway. So we will not be providing snacks for purchase. So please plan accordingly. If you're going to be up here for a long day, bring snacks. We will have water for y'all for the first week or so like we usually do, but you will not be able to come into the office and purchase drinks or food. So please plan accordingly for that. I think that's all that I have. Are there any questions? No? Okay, well, it's good to see y'all back. Bye.
Thank you, Amanda. Becky had a few updates that she wanted to give you all too. Thank you, Amanda.
Sorry about that. My speaker's not working. I just wanted to remind the ADA drivers when they come in that there's a lot more changes done to your routes, because as Maria and Latika were helping me make the phone calls, some of the parents were declining transportation. So I've made more changes. Also, several people did not park in their correct stall. So I'm going to have sheets here on the counter that has all the stall numbers. I want you to take one and make sure that you park in your correct stall. Also, check your route sheets and make sure if you have any student that needs adaptive aids to be safely transported, that you get those prior to running your route. When you come in Wednesday and do them real time, I want y'all to make sure you take those aids on those adaptive aids on the bus with y'all. And 5:20, please speak to me before you leave today. And 5:13. Thank you. See y'all in a little while.
Amanda, is Warren in there with you? Warren is next.
I'm here.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. I haven't got to speak to you all yet. I'm very happy to be here with you. As I'm going through here and talking about a few things, if you have questions, please just put them over into the comments. I will try to answer them as quickly as I can. Last time I saw a lot of you was prior to spring break last year. It's been a long time and a pretty crazy time for a lot of us. There's been a lot of changes and a lot of well, there'll continue to be a lot of change. 2020 has been a weird year for all of us, from dealing with COVID-19 to murder hornets and crazy hurricane season that's going on, and my gosh, earthquakes in Virginia. I don't know. There's all kinds of weird things going on all over the place. It's been a very, very interesting, I guess is probably not a very good word, but an interesting year for sure. I do think our district leadership has done an amazing job of trying to put all these things together that we need to be able to do our jobs. I also thank our superintendent school board for ensuring that every single employee in the school district that was working for us back in March was continued to get paid. A lot of people out there in the world and in this country did not have that. So we're definitely fortunate here at Bryan ISD to have been able to be with our families, and for some of us anyways, be with our families and not have to necessarily be out of work. Becky just mentioned changes with ADA routes, and that word change is something that a lot of people struggle with, but it's something that we are going to have to get used to. For anybody that's been here since I started back in 2017 with the district, they're used to change. We've had some really substantial change over the last 4 years here, between going to the hub system and leaving the hub system and a redistricting and changing, leadership and the way that we train. There's so many things that have changed here, and overall, everybody here has done an amazing job of adjusting to that change. So I ask that you continue to be patient and to understand that we're doing everything we can to not only protect the students but also the staff that work here for Bryan ISD. And with that, change will continue to happen. As it looks like there's a solid chance that there's going to be a vaccine that'll start being, well, they're already producing vaccine based on the testing that they're doing now, and so there's a good chance that we'll see vaccines distributed late either December, January, so that's coming. And with that, hopefully we'll see some changes back to normal, or a new normal anyways. With that, I want to talk about some kind of what it's going to look like for all of us as we move into the school year. A lot of you had particular ways of interacting with your kids on the buses. A lot of little ones like to come up and give hugs and high fives and things like that, and that's something that has to be done differently. You need to figure out ways of interacting and building relationships and connections with your students that don't require that, air high fives, I guess, elbow bumps, whatever that is going to be, because everybody has to continue to be vigilant. We are fortunate that the case numbers have been going down in Bryan ISD, in Brazos Valley lately. Ronnie O'Neill continues to remind me, though, that while the numbers are going down, the big concern right now is community spread. 3/4 of the cases that are still showing up are through community spread. So a lot of times when people are getting sick today, they don't know where they got it from, which that's challenging. And then, with Blinn and Texas A&M now back, we're going to see spikes start to occur. The numbers will go up. If you've been watching the news and seeing what's going on and especially in Georgia, but also Florida, Indiana, The districts have opened and they've closed already, you know, or schools anyways, campuses open up, and 3 days later, they've got hundreds of students quarantined and hundreds of staff. There's already thousands of staff and students quarantined in Georgia after a week of being back. So you'll need to be prepared for quick changes. It may just be a campus, so your route may change. I mean, 3 days into the semester, we may have an entire campus that has to shut down, and all of a sudden, instead of driving around, you might be riding with another driver or something. I mean, we'll have to be prepared to make these adjustments as quickly as possible. There's a good chance that if a campus is shut down, that there was also probably a COVID positive student on a school bus, and we may end up losing a portion of that bus, or we may end up having to have the driver or the aide also quarantine, which I'm going to talk more about that here in a little bit. But these are the kind of changes that we will be looking at, the adjustments that we'll have to roll with. Masks, as you've probably heard several times, I haven't been on your meeting, so I don't know everything you guys talked about, but masks are required for everybody, definitely for all staff. And students 3rd grade and up are also required to wear masks. It's strongly recommended for 2nd grade and below to wear them as well. There are face shields available as well. So if you want to wear a mask and a face shield, you'll need to let us know so that we can make sure that we acquire some for you. We've ordered a bunch. We have a few on hand already. So if that's something that you want to do, you'll need to send an email to Mike Hardy, and he can make sure that we get one for you. You can obviously wear your own mask, something that a lot of people have their own that's got whatever, either they made them or they bought something. But we also have a considerable amount of masks here. There's every morning, Norris is going to print up a list of students that have been identified as either of having had close contact with somebody with COVID or have been diagnosed with COVID. And as we find these out, they're going into a database, and Norris every morning will get an updated list. And if you have students on your bus, you're going to get a name that, and they're not eligible to ride during a period of time. So they will have been notified by their campus, but you'll get it. So if there's somebody that's not supposed to be on your bus, you will know it. Okay, that list will be printing them up every day. Hopefully you won't have any, but as it comes up, we'll make sure that you guys are in the know of who's not supposed to be on the bus. Close contact is within 6 feet without a mask, and for more than 15 minutes. That's how they define close contact. So if a student's on your bus and they're sitting in the seat right behind you, you would be considered in close contact of that student. And there's a possibility, if they were a 2nd grader that wasn't wearing a mask, that you may have to be quarantined for 14 days. But with that, know that we have the FFCRA, which is a way that we're able to pay staff beyond their sick leave in the event something like this happens. So don't worry so much about that if for some reason you have to quarantine. With that do not ride list, there's a possibility that you could show up at a bus stop and have a child there that's on that list. What you're to do at that point is to contact dispatch. Dispatch will attempt to contact the parent. We want you to stay there at that time with the child. We don't, especially if they're a little one. we'll see if we can get hold of the parent and get the parent to come out and get them, or if you're like at the house and the parent's still there, we obviously we can send them back. If we can't get a hold of the parent, we'll send White Fleet out so that you can continue on your route. So that's kind of how that will go. Some of the biggest things I think that I need to talk about are related to communication. Because of our need to limit close proximity with each other as best we can, I'm asking all of you to get very familiar with using your email. I imagine a lot of you probably have gotten more familiar with your email over the last few months, but everything we do is going to be going through the email as much as possible. You know, if you need supplies from Mike from the shop, you'll need to submit an email. I'm sure they probably talked about this, but you know, you'll send in that request for the supplies, and Mike and Andrew will make sure it gets bagged up and it's going to be put out on the counter here inside the shop in Bay 1. Have they talked about, let's see, Irma asked, is there any specific seating instructions we need to know about? So when it comes to seating, it would be great for us to say that we can socially distance kids on the buses, but that's not a reality. That's why we're requiring masks on the bus. But when you pick up your kids, hopefully you guys have talked about this already, but when you pick up your kids, the first kid that you pick up needs to go and sit in the back of the bus, okay? Then you pick the next kid you pick up would go, or a couple of kids, you're gonna load your bus from the back of the bus to the front. Then when you get to your campus, you're gonna unload the bus from the front of the bus to the back. This is gonna prevent kids from walking past each other as you're doing it. They're gonna have to walk past each other in the afternoon when you're unloading them, obviously, because they would be at different stops, but it's going to reduce the amount of times they're going to walk past each other. So that'll help a little bit. But as far as, you know, spacing and seating, if you have a route that only has, which we have a few of these, that only has 8 or 10 kids on it, by all means, have them spaced out, assign those seats. Because if we do have to do contact tracing, it's going to make it a lot easier to get done. But if you have a route that goes to Clearleaf or goes to Forest Park or Forestwood, or whatever that's called, you know that you're going to have a bus with 50 kids on it, and there's not much you're going to be able to do. It's just the way it's going to be. And we're going to have to use the cameras to be able to identify who is where. But when it comes to a lot of our routes that don't have very many kids on them, definitely assign the seats, space them out, do everything that you can, okay? You're going to have to use your best judgment for that. I agree, Catherine. Air hugs and high fives are definitely the best way to go. Back on the communication, we're going to have a lot of virtual meetings. We're going to be doing more of this. You know, we normally would have a monthly meeting where we all get together. So when Norris and Simeon are meeting with you as we go throughout the year, we're going to do more of these virtual meetings. So you'll need to have either, you know, your phone that you can do your Google Meet on, or if you're at home, you know, we'll send you home. You'll still get paid for it just like you do, as long as you show up. As you know, Simeon is able to take attendance through an extension on it, so we can see who was there and how long they were in the class, so that we can pay people appropriately for showing up. So we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff this way. You may have meetings with your router over the phone or through one of these hangouts. It's just the way that we've got to do business. There's too many of us, and we're too cramped right now. The good news is, and I know some of you probably aren't going to believe me, but we are still in November going out for a bond, and hoping that it will be successful, and we'll still be building a new transportation facility soon. If you didn't know, interest rates have gone down considerably, and now we were looking at having a small tax increase with the bond, and now they're actually looking at, once the bond passes, the taxes are going to go down by 0.5 cent because of the low interest rates that we have now. So it's pretty cool. We're going to be able to get a $170 million bond, build a new transportation facility, maintenance facility, and intermediate school. And actually, the taxes are going to go down. So that's super cool. That's going to be in November. And a lot of new information is going to come out about that here over the next couple of months. So be watching for that, and be educating your family members and friends also, so that they understand how this is going to work, that they know that their property taxes aren't going to go up as a result of this bond, because it's really important that this passes. Back on the communications thing, if you are having struggles with any of the communications related stuff, get with LaShawn and Simeon. If you are having problems doing your modules that we have to do every year, same thing. LaShawn will try to help you guys out that have questions. Look, I'm going to go over a few things that are in that are related, that are in the handbook. Hopefully you guys all got, maybe you haven't gotten a handbook yet, but there'll be one in your packet if you haven't. In the very end of the handbook, there's a section I added that's related to COVID-19. So an expectation of all staff before they come to work is that they're evaluating themselves every day, that you're making sure that, you know, that you're healthy enough to be here, that you don't have a temperature of 100.4 or 5, whatever it is, and above. And then if you have a spouse or a child that goes to Bryan ISD, or a spouse that works for Bryan ISD, they're also kind of in the same boat. So if you're married to somebody that works here, you know, you're both going to basically be sick until we find out whether or not you have COVID or not. Anyways, that's kind of how that works. The disinfecting of buses, everybody's being provided with a spray bottle full of vital oxide. Vital oxide is a disinfectant that's approved by the EPA and the CDC for using against COVID-19 coronavirus. So we're going to have a crew that's going to be spraying buses every day. They're going to do this in the evening. But we need you guys to be spraying your buses in between your trips. So after you finish your first tier and you go and getting ready to start your second tier, just go through the bus real quick, spray down those handrails and the seats. Hopefully by the time you get to your first stop, that's all dried. And then once you get done with that run, and you're ready to, and you get back to the bus garage, you'll want to spray it down one more time, so that it's ready for your afternoon run. Okay, so you go do your afternoon run, you finish your first tier, and then you're going to do that spray down again in between those runs, and you'll spray the handles or the handrails down again. You'll spray the seats down again, and make sure that all that stuff is disinfected thoroughly. Every bus has hand sanitizer on it. You'll want to keep an eye on that and make sure that you have enough for that day. And if you think you're going to run out, again, send that email to Mike, and he can make sure that either has somebody go out and replace it, or he can get you the bag so that you can replace it yourself. One thing I think I didn't mention was with ADA drivers, due to your proximity to children that could be immunocompromised, ADA drivers will be doing we will be doing temperature checks on you guys throughout the year to make sure that that you haven't come in with an elevated temperature. So that will continue to go on like it did this summer. For those of you that drove this summer, we did those temperature checks. If you observe a child on your bus that you think is sick, or you have a child that throws up, obviously, and it's in between runs, we're going to want to get that whole bus sanitized. So you're going to have to come in probably and swap a bus out if you have something like that happen. But if you're on your way to school and a child does that, you're going to want to notify dispatch, let them know, give them the student ID number. And when you get to the campus, dispatch will have called ahead. You will wait for somebody, a responsible person to come out and take responsibility for that child, because we don't want them deciding that they feel better now and they're going to go out to the playground or something like that. So when you get to campus, if you've got a sick child, you make sure you're turning that child over to somebody that's responsible, okay? When it comes to your PPE, I think that the nurse probably went over that a little bit. Make sure that you're if you're using rubber gloves, latex gloves, that you're disposing of them appropriately, that you're taking them off correctly, and that you're throwing them away in a container that's not going, so they're not going to end up on the ground. Make sure, we don't want to find masks and latex gloves laying around in the parking lot here. So make sure that we're disposing of them properly, okay? There's going to be fuel mitts outside for the fuel pumps, so that you can put those on. It'll do two things. One, it'll keep you from touching the same surface somebody else just touched, but it'll also keep your hands from smelling like diesel. So Mike has ordered a bunch of those, plus you're going to have access to latex gloves as well. Shop supply requests, we've already talked about a little bit. I think that's good to go. The ice machine is going to be closed. We're going to put, Mike's going to have ice in baggies in a cooler, and we'll get you ice that way. We don't want 900 different people going to the ice machine and contaminating the lid and the scoop and things like that. So we're just going to have ice in small baggies. So if you do need ice, you'll be able to get it, but it's not going to be out of the ice machine. The water fountains you can use for refilling bottles, but they're not to be used to drink out of directly. I don't think very many people did that anyways. Amanda or actually I guess Miss Mitchell did most of this. We purchased, instead of buying Powerade Gatorade this year, we purchased powder drink mix. That's basically the same thing. You can pour that into your water. We'll probably get, I think you got probably 5 of them in a little baggie in the first bunch, and I have had Amanda order some more, so we'll have about 5 more for you. So use those sparingly. The process coming in the morning or when you're leaving in the afternoon to prevent people from walking past each other as much as you come in, you'll see that window where Claudelle's desk is at. You turn your keys in there, you put them in a bucket, you get your keys. So in the morning you come in and you get your key and check your box, and then you're going to exit through the shop. You're going to walk down the hall, go out that shop door, and you're going to walk out through that bay 1. As you're walking out bay 1, if you've ordered supplies, there'll be a bag there with your bus number on it. You can grab that bag of supplies and then head out to your bus. So when you come in, you will not go back out the door you came in, okay? If you come in and you need somebody, you need to talk to somebody, you come up to that counter and you ask for somebody, but don't walk past there. Again, it's super congested back in that office space, and we want to make sure that we limit the amount of people that are coming in and out, especially when it comes to contact tracing. If we're trying to figure out who's been in there, who hasn't, we definitely know who's done it. So if you need somebody, try to, again, work through email and phone to make times to meet with people. Reviewing video will be kind of similar in a sense to how that it's been in the years past, but basically if you need to review video, bus video, Keith has a laptop. He can come into the conference room here by my office and sit down with you to go over that video. That way you guys can be spread out, not on top of each other as it would be if you were to sit in the cubicle space next to him. I am still working diligently to try to get this time clock app up and running by Thursday. I don't really have much more information to tell you about it. For those of you that responded to the survey, access will be given to you so that you'll be able to download an app on your phone and you'll be able to clock in and out through your telephone. About 70 people responded to me, so we've got about half the staff that will be able to do that. The other half will have to use the time clocks to clock in and out. If other people decide they want to do that, in a few weeks, I will send another list to technology. They're extremely busy right now as they're preparing for school and a lot of one-to-one. They're having to pass out thousands of devices to kids and to schools. So they're crazy busy right now. So I'm hoping I have this ready by Thursday. If I don't and you haven't heard back from me on it, you'll just clock in as you usually do. But I'm going to try very hard to get that done by Thursday so that we have fewer people congested in there around the time clock. One of the things, I don't know if Charity mentioned this, when it comes to special trips, try to be aware and also respectful of the rules where you're going. So we'll know what our rules are here around Bryan, but when you get to, if you're doing an athletic trip or something, the rules may be different there. They may not allow anybody inside. It may be like kind of like the NBA is doing right now, where they're playing basketball in front of an empty stadium. You know, so they may not allow people to come in and be there, or they may have specific rules that are specific. Like, so maybe we get rid of, maybe the mask thing goes away here, but there's still significant virus where the game is at. So you go to a game in Houston, there's still significant virus down there. So you'll want to follow the rules wherever it is that you go. Okay. Save the bad news for last. This has probably been mentioned through email and stuff before, but because of COVID, for those of you who have historically had your children come to transportation in the morning and in the afternoon, we have to do this differently. So if you want your child or grandchild to ride a bus out of transportation in the morning and you're on a bus, that bus must leave. You must be able to pass that child onto the driver here. You can't leave them at transportation for them to get on the bus after you leave, okay? You're gonna have to either make arrangements outside of transportation or work it out with the driver of the other bus to meet them and pass that child off to that person. Same thing in the afternoon. If you have a child that you want to come back to transportation, you need to be back here before they are here. So you need to be able to meet them back here. So if your route gets back after them, we're going to have to make other arrangements. Either they're going to have to ride on a different bus that gets back later, or you're going to have to get a hold of AlphaBest. If anybody has questions about AlphaBest and they need a phone number, let me know. I can give you contact information for that. But that's how we have to do things. I really hope that things are different in the spring. That come January, that we can get back to doing business as we've always done, because I know that this is a way that we've kind of done for years and years around here, but these are unprecedented times, and it calls for us to do things different than we've done before. So if you have questions about that, please don't hesitate to ask. Doug, I will send out an email to all drivers with everybody's email addresses. Okay, so that way you know who they are and what areas they're responsible for. Tanya Kreitz, if your bus is quarantined and you have to stay home, how are doing sick leave? Do we have to use hours? So it's again, Tanya, it's a combination of those things. There's the FFCRA, and then there's your sick leave. FFCRA is different than sick leave because I think it works kind of like workers' compensation, where they may pay like 80% of your salary or something like that. I don't know the exact answer to that as far as the FFCRA goes and what order you use them in, but I will have an email for you and for all of you after this meeting so that I know what order that works in. And I'll just send that out to everybody. Generally, with things like this, they ask that you expire your own leave first, but with COVID, that may be different. So I'll send out an email to all of you so that you know what the process is on that and how that works. Because for a lot of us, it's not a matter of if, but when it happens. You know, there's a good chance that everybody that's listening to me talk right now at some point is going to have to deal with some sort of a quarantine, and hopefully it's just to keep you safe. And I mean, I got sick week or 2 weeks ago, I guess, I had a stomach thing going on. I had to go get a test before I could come back to work. I mean, that's just the way it is. It didn't cost me anything. You know, I went to Baylor Scott and White, and the whole thing was covered. So, and I was in and out actually in 5 minutes. I went and I did the online thing with them where I did the screening online, and then and they set me a time to come in. I went in there in the morning, and they stuck that painful swab up my nose, tickled the back of my throat, and I was in and out in 5 minutes. And then I had results about 30 hours later. I know that LaShawn, and I don't know if it cost, LaShawn, are you listening by chance? Okay, I know that other people have gone to like, what is it called? Not Physicians Premier, but Signature Care. And we're able to get results in like half an hour. So there's other options out there. I don't know if that one costs anything or not, but if maybe LaShawn will be able to let us know. Yeah, and getting those tests aren't. So does anybody have any more questions about what I've talked about so far? District ID. I'm not sure I understand the question, Fidel. LaShawn, did signature cost? Was there a copay?
I don't know if it can. No, it was no copay. Copay, it was free.
There you go. So she went to Signature. It didn't cost her anything, and she had her results in how long?
It was like 15 minutes.
She had results in like 15 minutes. So keep that in mind if it comes up for you to have to do that. Generally, thank you, LaShawn.
You're welcome.
Generally, we do flu shots here at the district. I expect that we will probably do that as well. I strongly encourage you to get your flu shot because it is going to be one of those years. I mean, we got to have flu and COVID at the same time, and the symptoms are similar. That was another one of those 2020 things. We also have West Nile back this year as well. You know, they haven't had a significant West Nile outbreak in Texas since 2014, and they're having cases of West Nile now up in the Dallas area. And several of the symptoms of West Nile virus are also similar to COVID. I think that West Nile for a lot of people has some pretty severe long-term results as well. So anyway. So we want to get our flu shots if we can, and hopefully they'll start doing those on time about, I think, around October 1st usually, or late September. Will you be sending the link to get the time clock app to the people that respond to email? Okay, so as soon as I know more about the time clock app, I will send out an email to everybody that was on that list and let you know what your next steps are. I don't know if you're going to have to go to technology and have them do something, or if I'm just going to have to tell you where to go. It'll probably just be something in the App Store or on Google Play, more than likely. But I will let you know as soon as I know that. Yeah, you don't have to change I've got the same ID badge that I've had since 2016. Or, yeah. So you don't need to change ID badges. Any more questions? All right. So I am super anxious for school to start and for us to see how this is all going to work. Parents are getting route information today. Postcards went out on Friday. An email went out a half an hour ago to parents. So they'll be getting their information here over the next few hours, whether they get it by email or by postcard. You'll be practicing your routes. So make sure that you take good notes on your route sheets if there's something that needs to be done so you can get a hold of your router. That's all I've got right now, unless Simeon wants me to talk about something else. Simeon?
No, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay, well, it's all yours then.
Do anyone have any questions about anything he went over? Look at the comments.
Yes, you're still getting a 5-hour guarantee this year.
Hold on.
Mr. Warren,
Yes, ma'am.
you sent me an app to give you an answer about the clock in on our phone. I tried to download the app. I tried to answer. I couldn't get it. I still couldn't get it download.
Okay.
Is there, y'all gonna send another one or what?
So if you didn't get in on the first group in a couple of weeks, I will send out another one, and we'll get a second group out again.
Okay, thank you. I'll try it again.
All right.
So I want to thank everyone for coming. Warren is closed out the in-service this year. So if you have any questions, email me, email Norris, Warren, Claudel. So y'all have a good morning.
See y'all later.
Don't forget you all have y'all mock runs. Check your emails and see when Norris sent you the information. Hold on, Norris, you have something you want to say? I'm sorry, Norris. You have something you want to say, McDaniel?
Oh no, I think I'm good. Yeah, I do. This morning we seem to have had several people that have missed their opportunity to drive because they're not paying attention to their emails. I can only help you so much. That's your pay that will be short on these days when this happens, because we're not going to schedule you to drive at a different time. We have a set time. We have with a maximum of 3 hours, and then you turn around and got to do your 2 hours or 1 point whatever for the video that you're watching. So you have to pay attention. You have to do what we ask you to do. If you are scheduled to drive, that's why Mr. Gates has provided you 2 opportunities to have this training. You can do the training at 1 if you are scheduled to drive, but you cannot go and do the morning and then think you're going to show up to drive in the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, that will not work, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to start this year off like that. So let's get it together, because it's already going downhill. Thank you, Mr. Gates.
Mr. Daniel.
Yes.
I hate to bother you, but I told Mr. Claudia Friday, I'm getting everybody else email except yours. He said he was going to check and see if you have me on your list, because I get everyone else. And
Okay.
then I'm not getting it.
What I'll do is I'll take it off and put it back on. Sometimes it happens. I guess they overlap each other. So I'll just take it off and put it back on.
Thank
We'll
you.
see what happens. Let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if I don't have any more questions, today was the last day of in-service. So if you have any questions, once again, email us. Make sure you all modules are complete. Everyone's password is changed. I think that's about it. And pay attention to your emails so when you're supposed to do your mock day. Yeah, if you have any questions, email us. That's the new way of talking nowadays. So if I don't have any more questions, I'll see you all. Talk to you all later. Don't forget, the first day of school is Thursday. And I think Mr. Daniel said on Wednesday, you all doing your runs in natural time. So whatever time is on your route, you're supposed to do your runs on that day. I think he said that in the email. So if I have any more questions, I'll talk to y'all. Y'all have a good morning. Thank you, brother.